Hey, Nato here. Today I'm going to do a new what if because I just passed the 100 subscriber count. It will be a what if Deku had a leveling system that will be different from most, because most people that do this type of what if give him the solo leveling system. The one I want to give Deku is going to be from the anime Death March, which basically what he can do is, for him it's literally like a game. He constantly he sees stats, well, not stats, but what you see on a gaming computer, like your skills on the low end, your HP on the high part. You have the setting options on the down right. He doesn't have to touch them to activate them, he just needs to think. But when he does it, everything basically appears just in front of him. He's the only one that can see it. There is no level limit. Every time they gain a level, every stats increase. He has ability, magic, and other things like that that he can change when he is in one of the menu options, where you can see magic for one of the things where every magic he has an icon and then a bar with 10 pieces in it. When you level up, you gain points that you can or put in those to augment the power of the spell, or augment your strength by, well, your strength stat more than what you already gain with levels. Um, Stuff like running or stuff like or things like that. Basically, if you're doing it, you can get an icon for that, which then you can augment to basically boost it or to run faster, better, and stuff like that. So Izuku, well, there's also two other things I'm going to add actually to that. There's going to be quests that with those quests he can get for each quest a certain amount of money and also a certain amount of points. Each capacity slot, magic slot, or skill slot can be augmented 10 times to make this to make it stronger. So when he does a quest, it's not going to be like, oh, 10 point added or stuff like that. It's just like, oh, you have to complete, when you complete one you get money, when you complete the second, when you complete all of them you get like 1 or 2 stat point. Well, I call it stat point, but basically he can or put it in stats, his magic, you get it. And the second thing is that he can, when he's going to be sent to that world, he's going to be able to change his species. So elf, orc, stuff like that, human, gnome, or make a half human, half elf, half gnome, whatever it is. He is going to be half human, half elf. Um, he. The second thing I'm going to add is that he will have a age slowing factor from that. Basically, in most games like that you play, when you're playing it, days and night passes like 24 minute is 24-hour in game, but your character doesn't age even if he stays like 1,000 years. That's basically going to be Deku. He will not age at all. And in the game, well, in the new world that he's going to be, the time is passing one day out in My Hero Academia world, 1 year in that world, so he can stay a long time before the start of the anime, going to UA, and he won't age at all, both outside and inside of the new world. So 10 months is a lot of days. So for Deku, a lot of years. And I'm going to go for, basically I'm going to do like a, a good amount of parts out of the, well, in the game. Like with him leveling up, doing stuff like that. All the way up until a certain point where he's going to come out and be like about 4 or 5 days before the U entrance exam, and then he is going to go do it, and then I'm going to start at the start of the anime in UA. So this what if is going to be long, like really long. So let's start, well, from the start. Izuku is born. All of his life, he wants, up until he's 4, he really wants to have a quirk, he really wants to be a hero. Then, the day where he gets told that he doesn't have a quirk, everyone starts bullying him, since, as we all know, the younger the kid is, the more he's going to bully what is different or weaker than him. And in that world, it's way worse because basically, if you don't have a quirk, you're basically just a normal human from any standards, not a human. You're just a weak human. So everything basically happens the exact same up until the sludge villain attack. This is not a sludge villain. What happens is basically that while he was walking away, an explosion happened somewhere, and instead of continuing to go home when he's in the tunnel, he basically just, without thinking, starts going near the explosion. When he gets there, he sees multiple people, and it's basically a crime happening with some heroes fighting them. One of them is able to send bubbles that basically send anything to, we don't know, everyone just thinks it gets destroyed, which for him it does. The second one is someone that basically sends a, well, that his finger can basically act like shotguns, but when the bullets hit you, what happens is basically that you start floating, like Ochako's quirk, but can be used from a distance. And then the last one. He can send lasers that every time it touches something, basically the thing only has like a burn mark on it. So they just think it's a laser extremely hot? He thinks so too, because he never used it on a human before. Or animals, or anything alive, for that matters. And he decided to threaten people to try and get money from a place. Heroes started coming. Then, at some point while fighting, that guy basically, well, the guy that makes people float basically shot a lot of innocents. They started floating, Izuku as well, and then the guy that can send lasers basically pointed at Izuku and said, "If you don't let us leave, I burn him." The hero didn't take a chance but still wanted to stop him, so he went forward. He shot Izuku, and basically what was left of Izuku was ashes. Everyone just saw the kid turn to ashes, and the guy was just trying to basically cut his arm off. He wasn't trying to kill the kid, and he really got kind of scared because, wait, I thought my quirk was just a laser that could cut, not do that. They all got arrested, then there was a funeral for Deku. Even Bakugo was kind of shocked because how? All Might never even heard of Deku before, he wasn't there. But Deku woke up in a space completely black and started saying, "Am I dead? What happened?" Which basically, yes, kind of, but not really at the same time. Basically, the guy's quirk, what it does is teleports people to different places, leaving, and when teleporting something, it basically creates a lot of heat and burns whatever is around that. But it cannot burn something it cannot teleport something that is too big. What happened to Izuku is basically that when the guy used his quirk, since he didn't know, he was just thinking about what he was going to do when it all ended, and he was thinking about video games. And so Deku was basically just teleported in one. But he was just thinking about video games, RPGs, or stuff like that, not a particular one. So it basically, I'm taking this as the multiverse theory. So there's an infinite amount of universe, anything can happen. In one, magic can exist. In another one, all life is ended, and you get it. It basically teleported him to another universe, which is that. And Deku basically was in front of a um, screen that was basically asking him to choose his species, and all he was thinking is, that reminds me of one of the video game I played a long time ago. What did I choose when I had done that? Oh yeah, a half-elf. So half human, half elf, basically chosen. Then all it did was basically saying character what do you call customization, and all that Izuku thought was, why would I change anything? I'm dead anyway. Which the game took as, I won't stay like this. And then it asked for special ability, like special skill. And he just thought, I want it to be like All Might. Strong. And stuff like that. And the game, well, the thing basically looked at what he knew or thought of All Might, which was flight, extreme strength, um, air, air propulsion capacity, hyper resistance, like extremely tough skin and stuff like that. Even though All Might's skin is basically just like as strong as Izuku's skin, just capable. And it's just that, and he has more muscle, so the game it still gives him all of those skills at the same time. And then it says character complete. Um, starting game now, and was basically transporting him and basically made him be reborn in that world, kind of. Which, for a long amount of time, basically he didn't have his memory of his old world up until he was basically 14. So, the same age he was before being shot. Basically, he had already trained some of his skills. He didn't have the. Um, he did have the computer things in front of him, but he didn't know what they were for. He was able to use them because he learned how to. Never told anyone because he thought it would be weird and stuff like that. Um, he learned how to use his super strength, wind control, flight, resistance, and stuff like that. Basically, he was called a prodigy. And when he was 14, his village was attacked and completely decimated. He was the only survivor, and that's when his memory got back after he was knocked out and thought to be left for dead. So when he woke up, basically he finally remembered everything from his past life. He looked basically the same except that he had elf ears, and instead of his normal eyes, he had blue eyes. Anything else is exactly the same on his body. So he remembers everything from both of his lives, and then started thinking, I have to go back. Even though it's been 14 years, I have to go back. What will people think? What happened? Not knowing that basically only 14 days for that world passed for now. Yeah, basically. So, no, I decided to change something. One day is about 10 years instead. Because I want to give him a massive amount of time on it. Well, in that world, don't worry, he's going to have. I'm going to do a lot of skips and stuff like that because most of those are going to be like training moments where he's like in the forest or in the mountain or just somewhere killing monsters and stuff like that without even being close to anyone or being a guard or stuff like that. Basically, he's doing everything in his life, like trying to find how to get back home, but at the same time just doing everything he can to basically have a good life. So when he remembered everything, basically he was in a village that was supposed to be protected by a kingdom. So he went there. In that kingdom, well, while going there, people, guards and stuff were coming. They asked him who he was. He told them that his village was decimated, completely killed, that he's the only survivor. And so they bring him back. Basically, when they came back, they basically tried to ask him why he was, how he survived, what happened. He said that the last thing he remembers is being hit by a spell, or no, a mass, which they said, then how did you survive? Which he said, my special skills. Which when they asked, they, well, when he said that, they basically asked well, a wizard in the castle, like the high wizard, that was always close to the king, basically protecting them, their royalty. And she checked his skills, and she saw that, well, basically, over time, everyone levels up anyway from doing stuff. So normally, a kid 14 years old would have like 12 or 14 levels, since for a good part of their life anyway, they're not doing anything. And he read a lot. So instead of being that level, he's about like level 20 or something. Which she asked him, well, that's the first thing she saw. She asked him what he did when he was young, and he said that he was mostly reading and stuff like that, which explained the level. Then she checked his stats, which were basically through the roof. Vitality, which augments defense and stuff like that, was like he's just level 20 and it's already at like level 2, at like 100 or something because of his resistance. Basically, since his skin is extremely tough, since All Might's quirk is that, and that, it kind of took all of that in and made his skin extremely tough. So he just he's level 20 and his defense stat is basically like higher than most adults. His strength is as well through the roof, as well as his speed, intelligence, which isn't really surprising since he said he mostly read when he was young. And then she went to check skills, magic, and stuff like that. And in skills, he had what was it called? Resistant body, basically like physical attack almost, well, are like 4 or 5 times less effective against you. So a hammer basically swung at max, well, not a mass like in medieval time would basically just feel as a mallet of wood knocked as strong as possible on your head. So she got that, okay, yeah, that's kind of normal. And when you add his vitality in the mix, yeah, he wouldn't die from that. He would be knocked out and have a lot of damage, but he wouldn't die. But since anyone would die normally from that, well, the ones that attacked the village didn't think of checking if he was still alive, since big, like something bigger than his, as about the same size of his head, but made in freaking rock or metal, just hit him in the head at full speed. He should be dead, but he isn't. Then she saw in other skills that he could fly. Well, fly, that he had a lot of speed because one of his skills was, um, well, wind boost, which basically when punching, he can or send a good amount of wind, or when running, he can make wind behind him that pushes him faster. In magic, she sees that he doesn't have anything yet, but she sees that he could that he is basically a being that has a massive amount of potential. Like, she doesn't even have any idea of how much he has since it's too big. And then when she tells that, the king is interested because this kid has three skills, unique skills, in fact, that normally when you learn those, you need to be extremely high levels, and he was born with those. So he decided to ask the mage if she could bring a crystal ball to check the elements he can control, which elements are basically shadow, dark, light, white, black, fire, earth, metal, wind, ice, water, plants, and everything else, basically. And for a normal person, you have like from 1 to 4 elements max. Something uncommon is like 5 or 6. Rare is like 8. And normally, if you have more than that, you're basically a being that could be called, that could be, well, seen as a demigod or something like that. And normally the crystal balls can basically show you up to like 10 since, well, nobody's going to have that. When Izuku put his hand on it and started transferring some magic, the crystal ball didn't show anything. It didn't just crack. It exploded. Every possible thing from it basically went away, shattered to everything, and it was on a small. They were holding it like on a small box made of wood. The box basically got cracked from the force that was liberated when the crystal ball exploded. And the mage was in awe. Everyone was like, what the hell? She said that his amount of magic he had at just level 20 was already great. So she knew he would have at least, that he would be at least someone with a uncommon amount of magics, but this has never been seen. The person that had the most elements had like 11, and literally he trained to control all of them before it was even able to be shown correctly. When you have, well, basically they had made a special crystal ball that could resist every element at once, and so that he had 11 of them, but only rare people have them, like a king, and that's the one they used to see if what he had. And the crystal ball exploded because of the amount of magic and elemental magic that he had, which means he had every different element. Because basically, when you play a game, you can, if you want to, you could basically get any type of magic you want, learn all of them, and for him, it's basically that. So they saw what he could do, and so they decided to train him to be a mage of the kingdom. And so the first thing they asked him to do was raise his intelligence, which basically you don't have to level up to augment your stats. You can or read, do puzzles and stuff like that to augment your intelligence. Um, use bow, swords, or do things that need a lot of dexterity to augment dexterity. Strength, well, basically just train like any normal person would do. Speed, basically just run. But for a mage, normally what you do is augment intelligence and dexterity. So the mage basically told him, read as many books as you can. They went to the library in the castle and basically thousands upon thousands of books are just laying around, and they tell him, read as much as you can. I want you to raise your intelligence to as high as possible, and in 1 year we are going to start training you with magic. While reading, he found a lot of books with legends, stuff like that, special skills, unique type of magic, lost magic that nobody knows how to use anymore. And when you think about it in a game, what happens when you find a scroll, a book, or anything that has a specific type of magic in it that just basically explains kind of how it works? You get the spell. You're not able to use it correctly, but you know the spells, and you can use it. Not perfectly, but you can still use it. So while reading, for the entire year, basically, he found a lot of lost magic, special magic. Yeah, this Izuku is going to be overpowered. Just a heads up. But basically, what happened is that basically I'm going to put in this world magic from fairy tales, so Dragon Slayer, Demon Slayer, God Slayer. Those are all in it. Um, transformation magic, destruction magic, card magic, um, basically a lot of them. And he learned a massive amount of spell. It augmented his mana by a good amount, like an impossible amount almost, and he passed from level 20 in a single year of only reading books to around 40, which they don't know how he did that. They asked him how many books he read, and he said, I read them all. Because Izuku is a fucking nerd. Sorry for the way I'm saying it, but he gets 100% on any test he even just walks in his world. He can take it. And in this, elves can live for thousands of years normally in practically everything you look at, and remembers a massive amount of things with a massively good memory. And he doesn't need to remember stuff on the spot. When he tries to think about it, it just comes back to him afterward. So he can just forget it afterward and know it back when he needs it. So he basically said that he was able to read like big books in like an hour or so, which even in real life is basically impossible. But when they asked him how he did it, he basically just said that he liked reading. But in reality, what happens is that he looked in his skills, looked at what he could do, and about like a day after starting reading, he was basically really happy to read and find new stuff, but he thought it was long, so he saw that he had a new skill unlocked, And for the first time, he decided to try and put points in it, basically just putting it at max. Basically, every time you level up, you get like 2 or 3 points for skills. So at level 20, he has like 60. So 10 points in that is really easy to do. And that augmented his reading capacity to the point where he can basically turn a page and it's already read. Turn a page, 1, 2, it's read, he can turn again. Basically, that's the speed at which he can read. So, over 50,000 book is pretty fastly done at that point. Mostly when you think that he says about an hour for big books, like let's say about 400 to 500 pages. So smaller books basically get read like in minutes. Then they asked him all that he was able to learn, and he basically said that for every book he read, he basically thought that he was getting a bit stronger for some reason. Well, every time he finished a certain amount of books. So the mage checked his level again, which Izuku can see is about 41 or something, and she said, "You leveled up from 21 level. You increased the amount of power you had by reading, and your intelligence is now intelligence stat is now at around 300, because it's not going to be like, oh, for each book you read you're going to get 1 point, because that would just make it over freaking powered already, even though his stat is probably going to be at 50 million at the end. But yeah, okay, exaggeration, but you get what I mean. So after that first year, which basically means not even a full day yet in the My Hero Academia world, like he spent 15 years in that world only, so 1 day and a half for the My Hero Academia world. Then she says that she wants him to learn how to control magic, how to do it, and how to try and create spells. So they start. Oh yeah, as well, while being young and while reading, he gained a lot of titles. One of which is Bookworm, which when he has that unlock, well, when he uses that title, he basically reads 2 times faster. He unlocked that about like halfway point of the year. So he started reading a lot faster afterward. Other skill he has is magical learner. Uh, yeah, skill, which can be used with one of the titles he gained, which was fast learner, because after reading so many books and increasing the speed over and over again, he was basically starting to learn faster and faster, which basically made it so that he gained multiple titles, skills, and his magic tree is basically like there's as many different magic that he has as there would be words in a book, practically. Like, that's the point, because when she checked, she basically saw that every book she read, that Izuku read about magic, was basically transferred into him, and she saw that if he can just learn new skills or new spells by reading them, he would be one of the best, um, well, one of the best being ever to be or in royalty or stuff like that. So she told it to the king, which the king had a daughter that was like 15 when Izuku arrived, so a year older than him. They are full elves. No, they are. No, they're humans. Yeah, they're humans. Basically, him being a half elf makes him age a lot slower than everyone, as well as his skills and his unaging factor. And you know what? I just checked my note and I'm completely off with everything I said about the time dilation. At first I said 1 day, 1 year, then I said, or probably 1 day, 10 years. No, I went overboard, seriously. Because in my notes, it's 1 day, 1,000 years. um, yeah, I think I'm going to increase what I said in the video, but I'm going to decrease what I placed in my note with just 100 years instead for a day. Because I think it's going overboard 1,000 years. So yes, sorry about that. It's 1 year, 100 year, 1 day, 100 years. So 10 months is basically like just on just under or just over 300 days. So 100 times that is basically 30,000 years. Wait, no. 300, 3,000. Yeah, 30,000 years that he's going to be in there. I knew something didn't make sense when I said just 1 year and 10 years, but I didn't know what. So yeah, he's going to stay 30,000 years in that world and come back before you even starts. So yeah. Um, the king decided to see if he had a good heart before doing a big move, because if a kid with that much power is the next, well, makes a kid with his daughter, the next king or queen that is gonna come out of that generation should be one of the most powerful being ever. So yeah. So she started teaching him how to use magic and how to create spells, which he started them trying to learn how to control the magic he learned while reading. Then they also started putting him in sparring training, both for magic use, sword fighting, spear fighting, and every other way of fighting, even hand-to-hand combat. So he knows one sword style and two sword style from the way from like video game perspective. So he can use special skills, special attack. Um, he can use magic in conjunction with his weapons. That's also the moment he found out he had a storage, which was infinite, because at some point he was just told you can keep it, but he asked where he could put it, and he basically just made it disappear. They were, and the mage saw it, and there is special types of magic that are basically able to store items in it with limited space. Like in D&D, a bag of holding basically makes anything you put in it basically almost without weight, if I remember correctly. If not without weight completely. And it is a block of where in which you can make, well, put any amount of matter as long as it doesn't go beyond that. So they just think it's that and that he learned a spell to do it. But no, Izuku basically saw that he had a storage. After finding that out, he basically started finding just like, well, later he basically just went and found, well, went back to the library, waited for everyone to be out of there, and basically made a mental note of where every book was placed and just put them all in his storage and saw that no, it continues even after that. He placed every book back where they were, basically, then went back to his room where he decided to sleep the night. The next day, they basically said that um, for the, well, basically that's like 2 years later, after he learned how to fight um, using weapons, magic, and whatever other things he had. And that makes him 17 and the princess 18. And the king basically asked if he wanted to marry his daughter because they passed a lot of time together. Since at first he was supposed to be then the next kind of guard to the princess. He accepted. She accepted. They started being happy together. He continued training for a while, and in that in that life, basically, what happened was that he was basically being brought to every place where it was how do you say, where kings and queens meet, basically talk about um, what they're going to do with their kingdom. When there was war, he was basically next to the king, basically with the mage attacking because he had powerful spell that even they didn't know how to do. Basically, if he wanted to, he could use Dragon Slayer magic, like every element, but the only ones he read about were fire, ice, wind, thunder, and shadow. If he wants to learn the others, he will need to or find someone who has it, or to read it in a book. For Godslayer magic, he only learned wind, fire, and shadow. No, not shadow. Wind, fire, and earth. And for Demon Slayer, he learned wind, fire, thunder, and water. So he doesn't really use them that much when from far away. Actually, almost nobody even knows he has them, which his body did start becoming dragon-like. Because, well, Dragon Slayer basically become more dragon-like over time. He found out that he was starting to have some scales and basically went and read back and found some book about it and saw that Dragon Slayer, God Slayer, and Demon Slayer have seeds inside them that basically turns them into those. Then he basically created himself a spell that would remove those but leave him with all of his powers. So he did that, and basically now he still has some scales of a dragon. If he wants to now, he can grow wings, tails, and stuff like that, or become completely a dragon. Well, no, not right now, but he will learn to do that because it is in the skill, um, well, in the power of a dragon slayer to transform into a dragon, the power of a god slayer to go into a god, and the power of demon slayer to become a demon. So, as well as dragon force, god force, demon force, and the capacity to eat the elements. But yeah, so um, after around like 20 years, because of all the fights he did, because of all the book he went and found to read, because of everything, he's level like 110 at this point, which most people can't even say they can get close to that normally. There are a lot of people that are over that, yes, but at his age, normally you're not supposed to have that because now he's 35, and even the princess, the queen, the king, and everyone else basically say, you still look like you're 14. What the hell? They did have a kid together, which she is about 16 years and basically looks older than her father for some reason. Like, well, no, not really. She's a quarter elf and three-quarter human, so yeah, she's still aged faster, but she does live long. Basically, she knows that for her, she thought she was going to outlive both her mom and her dad from a lot, but they basically saw that no, he's going to outlive even her. So basically, those two played a lot together, training, and they found out that no, she doesn't really have all of his skills or capacity to learn new magic just by reading or all of those. So they saw that, okay, yeah, this is unique to him precisely. They had a second kid that's basically like 12 at this point, so like 4 years afterward, which he basically just found funny that his dad is basically like that. And so now we pass to around 100 years later. Izuku is 135 years, and basically he is with his kids, which basically both look adults, since they are three-quarter humans. That makes them age a lot faster than an elf or a half-elf. And they do have partially dragon DNA, but not enough to augment their boost that much. They do have Dragon Slayer powers because both of them had distantly. His daughter had fire Dragon Slayer fire capacities, and his son has metal capacity as well as ice capacity. So he taught his son Ice um, God Slayer or Dragon Slayer, one of the two. Yeah, I'm going to go with Dragon Slayer. And Dragon Slayer also to his daughter. With both of them basically only going to live for about 300 years of age. With him not even seeming to have aged a day since the day they were born. So basically, he is kind of like the king of that castle, of that town. Both of them basically staying in the castle, both having a family at this point, which are elves. Then, at some point, well, basically, I'm going to say his level right now. He is level around 2 or 350 because he was mostly just training his kids or finding new books to read to learn new magic, which now he has basically almost every different element of dragon, god, and demon slayer. Like I said, he's going to be OP. Um, and yeah, at this point, he decided to say that he's leaving the kingdom, that he wants to explore the world, with them saying that he's always welcome here, since they basically say that um, your kids only are only going to live for about 300 or 400 years, since they are 142 elf only, compared to you that seem to be going to live for probably a lot longer, since you don't even seem to have aged a day since we met you. So he leaves that place to go explore, and that's where I'm ending it for today. This is part 1 of what if Deku had a leveling system. So yeah, this is a lot different from any other what if I made, because I'm literally telling this story that's going to take place over 30,000 years or so, with him basically making new lives, um, having families, friends, stuff like that, him seeing them pass away because he doesn't age at all, basically. Him going to become, like, even in his own world, the most powerful hero ever, and that will stay alive forever, practically. Because he will still keep the, well, once he goes back to his world, he will lose the unaging capacity, but he will still live for as long as his species let him live, which basically a half-elf, I think, can live longer than a normal elf, but I'm not sure, and they still look like they're still teenagers at 3,000 years old, so yeah, he's going to live long. Like, he's still going to be there after human disappears. That's the point of what I'm saying, because yeah. So hope you liked it. It is way different than any other what if I've ever saw, because literally Deku is going to be OP, but I'm basically telling you all of the reasons he will have them. Right now in his arsenal he has like 300 spells. Um, Multiple elements of dragon, god, and demon slayer magic that I place. Like Ice Demon Slayer magic is a spell, a single spell. All of the move in that are classed as are put in one. But Fire Demon magic, Slayer magic is another spell. So a lot of those take place for that. But he still has 300 of them, which most of them are basically like or healing, or attack, or sealing magic, like something's attacking the kingdom, he can basically seal it in a bubble, make it shrink, and basically has that monster in there. His stats are basically HP over like 700 million, thousand, I mean. 700,000 is a lot. Um, his vitality is about like 2 or 3,000. Strength about 4,000. Um, Intelligence is in the 6,000 because he always read as much book as possible. Um, Dexterity is at a 2050. Speed is off the roof with a good 400 and 600. And yeah, like I said, his level is 350. And for skills and stuff like that, he basically has cooking skill, magic skills. He can create spells. Um, he has a spell breaking skill, well, magic. So someone attack him with a spell that or stop him or basically should kill him. He can, if he's able to use the spell before it hits him or while it's around him, he can basically break it. He has a spell that basically make it so that if he gets killed by something, time rewinds for like 2 minutes in the past. Like this magic basically, well, no, it's a skill that only activates once every year. So when it's activated, he has to wait 365 days before using it again. So it's not a, oh, you try to kill me, I can just come back every time. No, it's a one-time deal. If you die again, you're dead. So yeah, this is going to be overpowered. Hope you like it, because I really freaking do. Not so out.